I'm not going to read you all the different ways to prove lines are parallel. Think about what we did the last 2 days and flip it. Parallel lines imply alternate interior angles are congruent. Well, now today, alternate interior angles congruent imply parallel lines. All right, we're just going to flip all those reasons today. Before we get into an actual proof, I want to make sure you can identify lines that are parallel and why. So down below here, I have a diagram of a bunch of lines. Each part, I'm going to give you a pair of angles that either are congruent or supplementary to each other. I want you in return to tell me, oh, that must mean these two lines are parallel and why. And sometimes you may not have parallel lines. I'll show you in a second. Look at number 8. I'll do 8 with you. 1 and 2 are congruent. Okay. 1 and 2. I need to know what lines are parallel and why. Again, here's what I love doing. I actually highlight the angles that I am given congruent. 1 and 2. And I say to myself, do they share a transversal? Do angles 1 and 2 share a transversal? Name the line that's the transversal they share. What transversal do angles 1 and 2 share? Line U. Everyone see it? Okay, so they have to be some type of special angles. I don't know what they are yet, but I'll figure out in a second. What lines are parallel now? Well, take a look. This is the great beauty of highlighting them. You can see the transversal they share and the lines that have to be parallel. So which two lines are parallel here? R and S. So R is parallel to S. Now you got to tell me why. We identified they were special angles because they share a transversal. What type of angles are those out of all the special ones we've talked about? Those are corresponding angles. Everyone agree? Corresponding. So here's the new reason today. Flip it. Don't start with parallel lines. Start with corresponding angles. I still need to tell you what, though. That's great that they're corresponding. That doesn't make the lines parallel. The fact that they are congruent. Perfect. Corresponding angles are congruent imply what today? Parallel lines. I am just flipping my reason. Whew. Questions? All right, I want to do one more with you just to prove the point. Go to number 14. Go to number 14. 3 and 7. So ready? 3 and 7. Okay, they're not doing the same stuff. Do they share a transversal? Do they share a line right now, those two sides of each angle? You guys are shaking your head no, and you're correct. So are they related at all? Which means what? I don't have any parallel lines up here, okay? They do not share any transversal up here. Do we see that? Because that's a huge part of today. They do not share any transversal, so they're not alternate interior, corresponding, or any of the other special angles. So that tells me I have no parallel lines. Here's what I know some of you are going to say right now. And let me disprove your theory. Oh, hey, wait a second. I believe 3 is congruent to 9, and 9 is congruent to 7, so they should have some type of parallel lines. Time out. Why is 3 and 9 not congruent? I know they're corresponding, but why are they not congruent in this case? Bella, please help. There are no parallel lines up here. Okay, I did not give you any parallel lines, so don't tell me 3 and 9, 9 and 7 are congruent. Baloney. Okay? You guys have about 5 minutes right now to go through the rest of the angles, either being congruent or supplementary. You can work in your group. Feel free. Chat it up. And I'll get back to you in 5 minutes to see what lines are parallel and why. Let's resume. Okay, here we go. Number 9. Here we go. If 2 and 9 are congruent. Let's see. 2 and 9. Oh, hey, how you doing? Here we go. If 2 and 9 are congruent, what do we have here? 14, what do we have? For number 9? Okay, so we had what, 2 and 9? 2 and 9. Is R even a part of 2 and 9? Nope, but what is? U and V. All right, U and V, what type of angles are 2 and 9? We call them alternate exterior, and if they're congruent, the lines are parallel. Everyone all right? Okay, let's go here. Number 10 now. 5 congruent to 7. Got it. 5 congruent to 7. What do you got for me? Number 3, what do you got for me? That means R and S, because what type of angles are they? Alternate interior angles. Everyone good so far? And again, we're not saying the whole theorem that should be written, but just what type of angles should be in there. All right, I got 10 done. How about 11? Now we're not saying 7 and 8 are congruent. What are we saying if they add to 180? They are supplementary. All right, does that help us at all? Let's see. How about 17? R and S, good. Same side interior angles. We are on a roll. How about 12 now, which says 3 and 6 are supplementary. We're 3 and 6. Hey, here we go. 18. What do we have? No parallel lines. Okay, let's take a look. 3 and 6. 3, 6. Do they share a transversal? Yeah. What is it? S. And 3 and 6 would be same side. For which lines? No, they don't need. What do same side interiors have to be? Not congruent. And they said they add to 180 though. Yes? So that's okay. We want them to be supplementary. We don't want them to be congruent. All right. 13, 3 and 5. What do you got for me if 3 and 5 are congruent? Any lines up here? Here we go. 8. What type of angles are 3 and 5 there, Ava? You got it. Alternate interior angles. And then finally, 15. If 4 and 5 are congruent, what do you got for me? 11, what do you have?
11. Okay. 15. I got R is parallel to S because corresponding angles are congruent, which means they are parallel lines.
Corresponding angles. So there's only the one I did with you, 14, was the only no parallel line one. Anything you want to ask? Are you ready to try it in a proof now? Okay, go ahead. I'll give you a second to set up everything. If you haven't done so already, get your givens in, statements, reasons column. All set? All right. I need you guys to settle down when you do your proofs now. This is what I mean by that. You guys just go flying into your statements column and just start writing anything that comes to you and you think is true. And hopefully at the end it all matches up. What I need you to start doing now that we have all these theorems and postulates going through our heads, is we need to before I write down statement number 2, I got to make a plan. All right, here's what I mean by make a plan. Look at lines ST and UV for me, the ones we're asked to prove parallel. Find a transversal, find me a pair of special angles right now that involve ST and UV. Can you see any corresponding alternate exterior, alternate interior, same side interior with ST, UV, and a transversal? Can you guys find any special types of angles for me? And I don't mean vertical. One's formed by ST, UV that are special to us. What do you got, Andrew? Okay, he has identified 3 and 2 as what type of angles? Alternate interior. So what I'm showing you guys is, all right, you've identified these are special angles. So if I can get angle 3, what do you know about alternate interior? Should they always be congruent or supplementary? So if you guys could show me that angle 3 and angle 2 are congruent, you're done with the proof. It's just one extra step. Show me the lines are parallel. That's what I mean by making a plan. Identify the angles that need to be congruent or supplementary before you start the proof. So we've said, all right, 3 and 2, alternate interior, they got to be congruent. Now it's on you. Get them congruent for me. Now, based on all your knowledge, what we've done through Unit 2 and this unit, can you get 3 and 2 congruent? And again, please, stop. Please realize you can't just say 3 congruent to 2. Parallel lines imply alternate interior angles are congruent. What don't you have here, guys? Parallel lines. So don't tell me they're congruent because they're alternate interior. You need parallel lines. That's what we're trying to prove. There's got to be another way to get 3 congruent to 2. How? Let's go 15. How?
Well, in the given, it says,
Which are always provided for a reason. Go, Grace.
it says 2 is congruent to 1 and 1 is congruent to 3.
That must mean which would say
that 3 is congruent to 2 through substitution.
3 congruent to 2, substitution. Everyone agree? Not because they're alternate interior. You don't have parallel lines. The only thing you can do is call them alternate interior. You can't tell me anything about them. Now that you have 3 congruent to 2, which are special alternate interior angles, now you can tell me that ST is parallel to UV. Andrew, what type of angles are they again? More than that now. What did we showed they were more than alternate interior. They're what? Alternate interior angles are congruent, imply I have some parallel lines. We all right? Because the next one's a little bit more complex. Everyone okay on this one? Okay, same thing I want you to do on the next one. Go ahead and set it up. Same thing we did in the last problem. Look at the lines. I ask you to prove parallel. KM and LN. I'm asking you to prove them parallel. Try to find a special pair of angles right now using those 2 parallel lines and 1 transversal. Can anybody find me 2 angles that are considered special pair of angles formed by those parallel lines and 1 transversal? Find them for me. Find them. You got it. Find them. Because that's going to be our goal, our plan. And it's got to be formed by those parallel lines and 1 transversal. Do we see any types of angles? Let's go back. How about number 5? Do we see any types of angles, 5? Which ones? For those parallel lines, though? We'll get to those in a second, but I'm talking about the ones we need to prove. Everyone agree? Look at 2 and 4. 2 and 4 with, take a look, here's your transversal. I didn't draw it in, but there's your transversal. 2 and 4 are corresponding. That's your goal right now. And Alyssa, are they usually congruent or supplementary, those corresponding? Congruent. So I'm going to say you guys need to get me 2 and 4 congruent right now. Get me angles 2 and angle 4 congruent. That's your job right now. Yes, Michelle.
How can 2 and 4 be corresponding if we don't know that KM and L are?
I'm not saying they're congruent. I can call them corresponding, but I cannot call them congruent unless the lines are parallel. I can call them corresponding. I can call them alternate interior. I cannot call them congruent unless the lines are parallel. See the difference? Those are corresponding, but they're not congruent yet because the lines aren't parallel. Good? Okay, here we go. How can I get 2 and 4 congruent? Well, is this going to be another easy substitution? No, nothing repeats here. So substitution's not going to be used right now. Do you see the other given I provided you guys? Do you see an actual pair of parallel lines? JM and KN? Those lines are parallel. Do you see any special type of angles formed by those now? KM and JM. Any angles you see formed by those two parallel lines? How about 18 now?
1 and 3 are corresponding.
Nice job. So they have to be congruent because I already have. Now, be careful. What's our reason going to be? Nice start, Bella. Parallel lines imply?
No.
You can do it that. That's fine. You're just putting the congruent first instead of last. Congruent, what type of angles are they? Corresponding angles. I'm going to run out of room. Nice job. Okay, Bella got us 1 congruent to 3. Use all the givens. Use all the givens. Bella just used the parallel line that JM and KN were parallel. She just used that. We haven't used 1 and 2 congruent, 3 and 4 congruent yet. Anything we can do next up here? Let's roll. Here we go. 8. Yes, but not yet. Go watch. Ready? If I pick these two, can I get 2 congruent to 4? If I pick these two, am I going to get 2 congruent to 4? If I pick these two, 2 congruent to 4? I'm trying to show you, Ava, you need one more substitution before you get to 2 and 4. So you pick. What do you want to do? Yep, because here you go. Here's what Ava's doing right now. She's taking these two right now. 3 congruent to 4, 1 congruent to 3. So that must mean 1 and 4 are congruent. The dreaded double substitution. Do you see the given we haven't used yet? 1 congruent to 2. We have not used 1 congruent to 2. And let's use it with 1 congruent to 4. Now we can pull out what? That 2 is congruent to 4 by a second substitution. Everyone see that little dreaded double substitution? Now we had our goal. We have 2 congruent to 4, which means we have parallel lines. KM parallel to LN. Just make sure we write in the correct order. What type of angles were those again? Corresponding. So corresponding angles are congruent, implies parallel lines. Yes, Michelle.
Why can't you just write angle 2 is
Remember, substitution, you use 2 at a time. Okay? I have ready. I'll put A, B. I have 3 congruent quantities right now. Agreed? Can you pick 2 out that'll lead me right to 2 congruent to 4? Well, ready? Can you get 2 congruent to 4 from these 2? No, right? Can you get 2 congruent to 4 from these 2? 3 congruent to 4, 1 congruent to 3. You don't get 2 congruent to 4 out of that, right? How about the first and the last one here? 1 congruent to 2, 1 congruent to 3. Are you going to get 2 congruent to 4 out of that? So you got to be able to use 2 at a time to get 2 congruent to 4 out, and I can't do that. That's why I needed to go through a separate substitution. Okay? Anytime you see 3 congruent quantities, it's probably a little hint that you got to do probably double substitution. All right? Do you guys have any questions right now? Other questions? Go ahead there, Haley. Yes, you could have in this step right here. This step right here. You could have used these 2 right here and said 2 congruent to 3. Yep, that's the only other way to do that one. Others? Okay, I do not like to see you struggle, and I don't want to see you struggle tonight. So what we're going to do right now, you and I together are going to go through every homework proof, not do it all, but we're going to say, what would I need to prove congruent or supplementary? So we're going to go through the special angles right now, so you don't have to think about it tonight. So take a look at proof number 1. BF parallel to GH. Anybody see any special angles if BF needs to be parallel to GH? Where are the special angles on there that you're going to need to prove tonight? Bella, go. You need to prove 2 and 3. Supplementary or congruent? Congruent tonight. You're going to have to prove 2 congruent to 3 first. And if you just look at the givens, that's not going to be too difficult. Okay, number 2 now. We get a little tougher. I know you guys love this diagram. How am I going to prove that ED is parallel to AB? Find a transversal that could be shared by both and give me a pair of angles that are special types of angles. Give me a pair of angles that are special types of angles. Go ahead, Andrew. 4 and 2, that's given though. And you can't say 4 and 2 because look, hey, I did this at the beginning of class. Different transversal right there I just drew. They don't have the same transversal. Right? So it can't be those angles I want. What are the angles I want? Go ahead, Julia. There you go. Watch. DEG and ABE share the same transversal. So if you can get those angles congruent somehow, go ahead. And the lines will be parallel. All right. Ooh, here you go. You guys like these diagrams. If I need to prove AB parallel to CD, what 2 angles up here are special? Mike? 1 has to be congruent to 3 because they're what? Corresponding, yep. So if you guys can get 1 and 3 congruent, and I can't, don't do this. Oh, step 2, 1 congruent to 3 because they're corresponding. Baloney. All right, you don't know the lines are parallel. Okay, you don't know the lines are parallel, so don't say 3 is automatically congruent to 1 in step 2. All right, and moving along. Oh, there's our boy. There it is. There it is. For a what? 2nd day in a row now? Like it, bisects. I need to prove EF parallel to GH. What angles are the special angles then you're going to need tonight? Look for a common transversal and let me know. Hello, Haley, go ahead. Yep, if you guys can get JEF congruent to EGH, you're on your way. And I think you know how to do that because I think you've done it 2 times already. So, yes, JEF and EGH. And finally, number 5, if we're going to get EB parallel to GH, where are the special angles with those lines? It's not, you're welcome that I number them, by the way, for you to focus on the numbered ones, not anything else. Anybody see any special angles formed by?
May I have your attention,
Sure.
please? Attention seniors, please be on time to homeroom tomorrow and wear black and orange. The class group photo will be taken in D-Wing Courtyard tomorrow right after the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Special angles up here? Zach?
3 and 4 are
Angles 3 and 4 tonight. Yep. Get angle 3 and 4 congruent somehow. All right, you guys know that they're all up on Aspen for you to look at. Good luck.